Welcome, boxes of mother, to Geek Salad Retro Movie Reviews from the Geek Salad Podcast. I'm Andy.
And I'm Mike.
And tonight we are here to continue our discussion of the movies of the DCEU, I almost said Disney, the DC
Well, that's going to piss off some people.
Extended Cinematic Universe. Yeah, it will. You're right. So tonight we are talking about the film Justice League. Last week we covered
Shazam.
Possibly the worst. No. Last week was Suicide Squad. We covered possibly one of the worst ones in the DCEU.
Yeah.
And now we're here to give our thoughts about Justice League. So,
yeah, for good or for ill.
For good or for ill. Yeah. Now, did you see this one in the theater?
I did.
You did. Okay, I did not. This was definitely a video thing because reasons.
Yeah.
A number of reasons.
Yeah, I saw it because I wanted to believe that I can enjoy it.
Okay.
I still had hope that Justice League will be right the wrongs that BVS and Suicide Squad did.
Right, and considering it came out the same year as Wonder Woman, which was fantastic.
Wonder Woman was excellent. Yes.
Right. Exactly. So you have those hopes that it was good. Now. You and I both rewatched. You just finished rewatching it, right?
Yeah, about 10 minutes ago.
Yeah, I actually rewatched it right after we wrapped Suicide Squad, and I think my takeaway. So the first time I watched this movie, I did not care for it at all.
Huh. Now
I think with the rewatch, I don't hate this movie, but I don't like it either.
Yeah, it's weird. I like very little about this. There's a very lot of this movie that it does not get right.
Yeah, but I would say about 85% of this movie is just done wrong.
Yeah. Well, I'll go 75%, but we both are about there. But the thing is, for me, the 25% that they get right, it makes me forgive a whole lot of that wrong, because it gets it really right. So for me, I still like say 50%, don't love it or hate it. 49% you hate it. 51% I like it. I'd give this like a 55-60% on my personal meter.
Okay. I mean, for me, it isn't. It's not as odious as a Suicide Squad. And it's not just the dumpster fire that's Batman versus Superman: Dawn of Justice.
Yeah,
but this movie does tend to step on its dick more than one of the most expensive movies ever made should.
Yeah, $300 million.
$300 million. A recoup, a necessity minimum recoup of $600 million. With eyes towards $1 billion, given all things considered.
I think I looked it up today. I believe the break-even price was given at roughly $750
million, right?
And this one made
$545 million.
Huh?
$545 million worldwide.
No, worldwide $657 million.
600. Oh, okay. All right. So the information I was looking at was wrong.
Yeah.
However, it still lost $100 million.
Yes.
And we're going to come back to that because it's going to come in pretty relevant to something after we discuss the theatrical release of this movie. Mm-hmm. Wink. All right. Because it is a far smaller list, what did they get right about this movie?
For me, mainly it was the third act when the team is actually all coming together. The fight against Superman, I actually did enjoy that to a certain extent. And the final fight against Steppenwolf, especially when Superman came back, that's when I was like, okay, this is the Justice League that I've been wanting to see for all the hour and a half before this.
Okay.
So that when you had the heroes together, and at the actual individual heroes, I liked a lot. I think they were well cast. I thought their personalities were great. For the most part.
Mm-hmm.
that's where I think the movie really shined.
Okay. For me, Gal Gadot being so front and center of this movie is a joy. She's easily the best thing about these movies. Really, a lot of there are times that it did frustrate me when you just have to see her putting up with boys. You know, she even says it herself. I work with children.
Yeah, but that's at the end when they're winning, and it's like that's when they're celebrating. And
Right.
she's like, oh, okay, they're going overboard now.
But I really enjoyed Jeremy Irons more so than in BVS.
Yes, I agree.
Alfred is really good in this.
For a little bit that he is in it.
Yeah. I'll also say too, it is very obvious that they got the memo about color correcting.
Yes.
The movie isn't nearly as, at least in certain key important scenes, it isn't shot through a mud filter.
Well, I mean, let's just put it. This is the, especially, I'm just gonna say it, Superman.
Yeah.
When you see him in the full suit at the end, that is like the bright blue, the vibrant red. That's the Superman we've been waiting how long to see?
Right. Since Christopher Reeve.
Pretty much, yeah.
And that's good. That brings me to something that you mentioned about, the return of Superman at the end. That was great, but I would have really loved to have seen that dude somewhere in the other two movies. That Superman doesn't exist in this DCEU until the last 10 minutes of the movie, most of which were credits.
Trust me, that's been one of my biggest issues because Superman has always been one of my number one heroes.
Yeah,
I mean, I love Superman, and just seeing them get him wrong again and again and again, it's been so effing frustrating.
Hard. It isn't hard to do this, I'll also say too, there were bits of the Danny Elfman score I actually really enjoyed the second time around.
Yeah.
I didn't really care so much for the callbacks, and that's something I'm going to talk about once we start talking about the negative. But was there anything else that you really enjoyed?
Again, like going back to the heroes, the interplay, like especially like some of the scene, like Ezra Miller as Barry Allen was amazing. I really, really like it. I thought he gave a very nice, very light tone. He was
I wanted to punch him in the balls repeatedly throughout this movie. He is definitely a love it or hate him kind of character, and
I loved him.
I couldn't stand him. He's the weakest. I just kind of felt he was the weakest one of the bunch. And I feel really bad for who played Cyborg.
Ray Fisher.
Ray Fisher. Dude, emote.
Yeah. He that's the thing. He is actually, they took him right from Broadway, so you should know he should know how to, like, he's won, he's been gotten claims on Broadway.
Yeah.
And
can I say my piece about Cyborg now while we're on the subject of him?
Yeah, sure, go ahead.
He did not need to be in this movie. It's one of those things. I understand a casting situation where they're coming from in this. You do with a modern day Justice League, you do need the diversity. Cyborg is a very popular character. However, most of his popularity now stems from the Teen Titans animated stuff.
Yeah.
Between Teen Titans and Teen Titans Go. So having a sad, dour Cyborg who is just like, I'll say it, the CG costume was ugly.
Honestly,
it did not look at least one bit like it was in our realm.
A lot of the CG in this movie was not great,
and we'll talk about that. We'll talk about that because there was a large majority of this movie I did not like.
Yeah,
and we're gonna get to that in just a few.
I kind of agree about. I mean, I like when he actually was interacting with the others.
Mm-hmm.
There were moments when I was like, okay, it's kind of fun here, but then like he also just do that down and like I wanted him to be a little bit more. And if I had my druthers and they needed to get like one black superhero in there, I probably would have gone for would have recommended Jon Stewart.
I would have too. I don't know where the train of thought was going with that. I mean, considering that the DCEU at this point was on tenterhooks.
Yeah.
So you really, I'm sure that somebody in the Warner Brothers office just did not want to open the Lantern box all the way.
They opened it a little bit.
Yes, there is Lantern fan service in this movie.
Briefly.
There's an awful lot of fan service, which might have been graded higher if it was going to lead to anything.
I mean, we had a cameo from Mark McClure, who played Jimmy Olsen in the Superman movies.
Yep. Well, they have that. They mentioned they dropped Darkseid's name. There's a lot of like little DC thingies there, and then the stinger at the end credits with Luthor and Slade.
I really like Jason Manganiello too.
Yeah, I do too, and I feel bad that he's not going to be able to do anything. But
yeah,
what a cock tease of a setup. But again, I don't think they thought this movie was going to do as horribly as it did.
Yeah,
this was a bomb. Let's just call it what it is. This movie is a bomb.
It lost at least $60 million. It was not a financial success.
No,
and critics and fans were very negative towards it in general.
Right, and it's a lot of that does have to do with the fact that the Warner Brothers just has never been good at this. For some bizarre reason, they are not good at this. They own all their characters.
Yeah,
Marvel that is split up between 3 studios, and Marvel had to settle with the B team and turn them into A-listers. This is the A team. These are the three of the most popular superheroes in comic books. Not just of any era, just in comic books. And you can't make a successful movie with not only all 3 of them in there, but the other members of their team. Yeah. I mean, it's almost fitting that out of all the movies in the DCEU, Aquaman is the one that actually had made more money than all the others.
I mean...
It's that wine mom money. That's what it is.
There's a lot about this movie that just screams made by committee rather than made by filmmakers.
Right.
I mean, the fact that they required it to be under 2 hours, they forced them to CG out the mustache, which looked terrible.
That is I want to point this out too. 1 month after this movie was released, The Last Jedi was released. And have whatever opinion you want about that movie, but you cannot deny that Snoke looked like a real fucking human being. The skin tones, the movement, the eyes. And here's Henry Cavill with his little putty chin that they actually they kind of CG'd in like the little cleft.
Yeah,
I don't think he had. Not only does he not have that narrow of a lower jaw, I don't think he's got that defined of a cleft in his chin either.
And I don't think so. No,
I don't look lovingly into his eyes, so I'm not really sure.
I don't know. He is a really handsome man.
He's a very handsome man, and you know what? Doesn't shave his chest, so good for him.
Mm-hmm.
That's a win on my wife's. That's a win on my wife's list.
Yeah, I really like Henry Cavill, and I think I think he got screwed over something fierce because
I
he deserved a better Superman than they gave him.
I pity the shit out of him. I really do. I feel so bad for this poor bastard. But everybody else in this movie, Ben Affleck is, ugh. It's weird because I found myself on the second viewing really wanting to invest, and I couldn't.
Yeah, this is a Batman that we really hadn't seen before, but I think with good reason.
Would it be fair to say that they kind of neutered Batman in this one compared to what it was like in the last movie, in BVS and in other iterations? Mainly looking at the Nolanverse, because I just feel like Justice League really wanted to forget about the Nolanverse and do their own thing, forgetting that what people love about Batman is Nolanverse Batman.
Yeah, I mean, I know he had kind of pretty much the same costume as from BVS, but for some reason it just didn't do it for me in this one. His cowl was like just floppy rubber, and
yeah,
and
that's the kind of thing too with the advent of like making the CG costume. There was no digital. As far as I'm aware, there was no digital touch-ups.
No, it doesn't look like it either.
No. There's the other weird thing with this movie too is that they showed Affleck in what I call half costume a lot. Yeah. Meaning he's in the costume, except he doesn't have the cowl on.
Yeah.
And the weird thing is that it's just the way that it's built makes him look too broad. It just looked weird.
Yeah. I like Ben Affleck. I like Ben Affleck as Batman as an idea, but this was just it didn't click with me as much as I wanted it to.
Yeah. No, I hear you. Jason Momoa is fine, and that's really all I can leave it at. And that opinion is going to stretch to Aquaman as well. He's fine.
Jason Momoa, I mean, especially in Jason Momoa in Aquaman, is the thing I like most about Aquaman, because it, at least for me, and I'm sure this is opinion held by a lot of people, is that you can't watch Jason Momoa and not enjoy watching Jason Momoa.
He certainly seems like he's having a good time doing whatever he's doing, because
and that comes off. It makes it a lot more fun to watch him, because you can tell he's just having a ball.
Right, exactly. But you know, it's just like it's kind of getting the surfer dude rude awakening. In this isn't the movie to introduce that.
No. Yeah, I mean, with a lot of these characters, I really could have done with having an origin movie before Justice League. I mean, it wouldn't even need to connect it, just to introduce the character. Aquaman before this one, I think, would have worked better than Aquaman after this one.
I absolutely agree with that, 100%. I'm thinking, going back to, because it is impossible to not compare this to the Avengers. Every single one of the core Avengers team from the 2012 movie was introduced in another movie.
Yeah.
Every single one of them. And the only one that didn't really get any semblance of a real backstory was Clint. I mean, you had the one scene with him in Thor, but that really doesn't do anything other than, oh, it's Hawkeye.
Yeah.
But that was it. He was the QuickTime video tease from BVS.
I mean,
gave him more to do.
Yeah, we didn't get back any backstory on Black Widow either, but we did get a lot more from. I mean, she was a co-star of Iron Man 2.
Absolutely, she's third lead in that movie, and but with this, you are legitimately introducing half of the team. Half of that, so that's Cyborg, that's Flash, that's Aquaman. You're introducing those three, and they are personalities that are supposed to shape the team, and they don't. you get like little intro pieces. You get the whole thing about Barry visiting his dad in prison. And you get the whole thing with Victor just being angry at the world because, he got blowed up in his weird CG robo suit.
Yeah.
And, Aquaman likes to drink.
He can drink like a fish. Oh, wait. Hold on.
And then there's Steppenwolf. Let's talk about the villain for a second.
Yeah. So I take it we're into the bad now, right?
Oh, we're into the bad. Yeah. There wasn't. I mean, I'm amazed we went as long on the good as we did.
Yeah, Steppenwolf.
Oh my God! And this has been the term I agree with most, and the one I've heard most is that he looks like a PS2 cutscene.
Yeah. He's the big bad. Oh, I'm gonna destroy the world. And there's nothing more to him.
Right now, I don't think that they would have gone with like what JLA did to like with the Avengers. Again, impossible to not do this. The Avengers, they fought Loki.
Yeah.
And Avengers #1, they fought Loki. Mm-hmm. In JLA #1, they fought Starro, the big alien starfish. So I understand they didn't need to do that.
That would have been a very different movie.
But if you're teasing Darkseid, all right, not even Darkseid, because I understand the original intent was a 2-movie. This was supposed to be 2 movies.
Yeah.
If the original intent was to introduce Darkseid at some juncture, why does it just have to be Steppenwolf? There are tons of new gods that you could have just brought in together and not make it a one-man show. 1 or 2 of terribly CGI'd characters.
What was it? What's the name of Darkseid's like Caliban?
Caliban. Well, there might be
Caliban.
Caliban. Okay, yeah. There's Caliban. There's
the Sod.
Yep, I think so. Oh, I think my dryer stuff is done. Yay! Dry clothes. Yay! But it's just that it was a waste because I mean, I don't ever want to hear somebody complaining about the villains in a Marvel movie being the weakest part of it. When this is what you get in your big, this has all been leading up to this one movie, this cinematic universe. Congratulations, you made it past 1 movie, so you're better than the Universal Dark Universe.
Yeah. And you use a fairly world-renowned actor, Kieran Hines.
Kieran Hines, yeah. Unrecognizable. My wife could not pick. I mean, my wife can just listen to Kieran Hines and hear his voice. She couldn't hear it at all.
No, because they had to like gravel it up and make it CG, distorted.
But even his whole thing is just you don't need to keep hearing a mother,
unity, mother.
Dude, phrasing. Yeah. The visual effects in this movie are not the visual effects of a $300 million movie.
No, you watch this movie, it's a 2-hour movie with dodgy special effects, and you got to wonder where the hell did that money go, because it certainly didn't go into the special effects.
Right, exactly. There are scenes that legitimately just look fake. And
well,
again, with this amount of money, there's no excuse. There was zero excuse for it making it look as bad as it did. That is not. If it's intentional, it's because we've already spent too much money on this.
Yeah.
The end battle is confusing to watch. It's not pleasurable. Even things like when Superman is flying that building, it just looks cheap.
Yeah.
The action sequences are they're all over the place.
Yeah, I mean, there are some that are really, really good, and there are just some that are like, what?
Right. And at that point, Ben Affleck really just looked like he was taking the Robert Downey Jr. route and just like sitting in a soundstage somewhere and just letting them build the world around him while he sat in the Batmobile.
Probably did.
I wouldn't doubt it. Yeah, it's just this is a movie that is supposed to take you to the next level and ends up going nowhere.
Yeah. United the group. Yay. And
yeah, you united the group. But did you? All right. Again, harken back. 2012. We're in the theater. The Avengers group. And there's Alan Silvestri's theme. Ba, 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 and they do the 360 shot. Didn't you get? I still get chills seeing that team shot with that music. Now let's go to Justice League. One weird, semi-distant shot in slow-mo with really no like fanfare swell over it.
Yeah,
they're standing there.
Yeah, there's no real iconic shot in this movie.
No, and it needed that. It needed that to cement the group, because after that, then all of a sudden it's just they go their separate ways, and maybe we'll meet up again. And Bruce bought a bank instead of just buying back, Martha Wayne's house.
Well, hey, the bank foreclosed.
Sure, but he could have bought it. It's not like they just leave that property there to just rot. Mm-hmm. But he had to do it for Martha.
Hey, what's his superpower? He's rich.
Yeah.
I like that. You know, some of the humor did not hit for me, but a lot of it, I got it. I enjoyed it.
I got it. No, I understand.
Especially when Aquaman is sitting on the lasso of truth.
That was funny. That was genuinely funny. All right, let's tear off the Band-Aid now. We got to talk about this. Movie loses $100 million. All right, and now there is the rumored Snyder Cut. I just want to posit, and I do want to posit this to anybody who is on the release the Snyder Cut hashtag. And for God's sakes, when people at Warner Brothers die, stop putting it in your Twitter comments. Oh my God, show some dignity.
Yeah.
This movie, if this movie lost $100 million and there is this magical cut that restores everything and everything is the best movie ever, don't you think it would have been released by now? It's been almost 3 years.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing is it would cost who knows how much more to fit. I mean, even all the scenes that like he might have shot before, it would cost so much money to get them back, reintegrate them back in the movie, get the effects back to where they need to be, and get everybody back and somehow make it work.
Yeah.
And so they would need to recoup like 200-400 million more on top of what they made. And I'm sorry, nobody is going to go see that movie again because everyone was burned the first time.
Right. There is a 6-hour assembly cut. Now, an assembly cut essentially is not even a working cut. It doesn't work through the storyboards or anything like that.
It's just a massive mashup of scenes.
Film that is shot.
Yeah.
Exactly. It's even if you splice that in a chronological order, it's a very, very rough cut. You need to sound correct. You need to edit those sound effects. You need to do the CG as you mentioned before. You're looking at somewhere in roughly the range of about 100 million, 75 to 150 million, depending on if you want to half-ass the special effects again.
Yeah.
Then you need to rescore it. Then you need to edit it to a workable. No one is going to sit through a 6-hour assembly cut just because Zack Snyder was behind the lens shooting that 6 hours.
And you know what? It may be better than what we got, but guess what? Zack Snyder also gave me BVS, and there's a lot about BVS I did not like.
Right.
I'm not going to trust him with the Justice League. I'm sorry if you really want it, but I'm sorry. I can't trust him with the Justice League.
I think the other thing that you have to remember too is the way the DGA rules work. It's how much of your finished film ends up being shown.
Right.
And I think it's got to be something like 60% of the film.
Something like that.
Something like that. Which I'm just going to use that as the example. Then that means that 60% of this film without Joss Whedon getting more than just like a story credit.
Yeah.
That's all he really got. He got a story credit. He did the reshoots uncredited. I mean, we all knew he did it, but with Zack Snyder being the sole that means that at least 50 to 60% of this movie is his. And this was his vision. And the other 40% isn't going to make it any better. They did not shoot a second movie. This isn't, and the best this comparison I give is the Donner cut. The Superman 2 Donner cut.
Yeah.
Richard Donner was removed from filming halfway through. So understandably, what they used gave Richard Lester the credited director. This movie was never intended to be seen by anything other than restorationists and then on home video. This was not meant to be released to make a boatload of money. And if you're going to release the Snyder Cut, you had better, you have to put the investment into the post-production of that, because the post-production wasn't already done. And I really think that people like Snyder, who keep showing you like production stills, and those are just that, they're production stills. They did not make it to the finished movie because maybe they were shot on an alternate take. You know, I think Zack Snyder, I think Momoa is definitely fucking with you. I really think that this is an in-joke that they are just getting the biggest laugh at, that, you know, that there is this rumored, excuse me, this rumored magical cut that makes Justice League so much better than every other superhero movie out there.
I think that it's not that there isn't footage out there.
Oh, there's absolutely footage out there. There's unused footage out there.
Yeah, there is. Well, there is for every movie.
Yeah,
but it's not enough to warrant the amount of investment that Warner Brothers would already have to do to a movie that already lost $100 million.
Exactly. Because that's the other thing too. Fans are lousy. Like these hardcore fans are lousy when it comes to putting their money where their mouth is.
And that's another thing, is that all the hardcore fans would definitely go see this. But that is probably 1% to 2% of the general population. The general population is not really going to go see this movie, so therefore it would lose even more money.
Right.
And Warner Brothers is a business. They're not going to go and do something that they know will lose the money.
Right. The longer this goes, the less likely any sort of alternate cut with extended scenes, which is really what it's going to be.
Yeah.
You can look at, let's be honest, there is small modicums of difference, like in all the different versions of Blade Runner, which is like, I know your feelings on Blade Runner, but when you look at a movie that there is a Ridley Scott cut, there is a studio cut, they are very similar with some noticeable differences. Is the cat on your keyboard?
No, he keeps clawing at the door because he wants to get out. I'll be right back.
Yeah, you do that. I'm gonna just do my thing here. So, yeah, you tell that cat, Mike. Yeah, and that's the thing. The longer this goes before they release any sort of alternate cut, the interest is going to go away. I mean, with the Donner cut for Superman, it just happened to fall on an anniversary of, I believe, the release of the 78 Superman, and coinciding with the release of Superman Returns. So they had some reason to release it, but it wasn't something everyone was going to love.
And they didn't have to spend a whole bunch of money on a bunch of new CG.
No, they didn't. No, they actually used a lot of screen test footage on that. They just spliced it in, and it's noticeable. It's not theater ready. It's not something you would pay for unless you're a completionist. And that's kind of where we're coming down to on Justice League. The Snyder Cut is, again, if it's anything, it's an extended cut that might restore, let's just be generous and say 20 minutes worth of footage that they can actually correct and fix, that may have already gone through that process before it was trimmed down for time. When the Warner Brother executives were just like, "Hey, we need our Christmas bonuses.
Oh yeah,
Rush this thing out."
Yeah, not only did they insist that it was under 2 hours, but they also insisted that it had to be out by this date, whether it was done or not, and it wasn't.
Well, and it doesn't. I mean, it doesn't help matters either. Zack Snyder did go through a tragedy in his family, and then they had to have Joss Whedon kind of step up. But they already had, they already knew they were going to have to do reshoots. There's a lot that goes into a movie that doesn't make it like this conspiracy cabal to suppress the works of the struggling artist.
Yeah.
Zack Snyder will make another movie, and he'll make another movie. And guess what? Those are all Snyder cuts as well.
Yeah.
So, yeah. And if you really want to look at anything that R-rated BVS, that horse shit that was supposed to explain with in the theatrical release, but should have been released in the theatrical release because it doesn't count otherwise.
Yeah, that one kind of pissed me off even more than the movie did.
Yeah. You were with me when I saw BVS.
I took you to see it. Hey, that was your birthday. That was your birthday movie, and you requested it.
Yeah, I think I did actually, and unfortunately, my birthday movie got delayed
to November. Yeah,
to November. Damn it! Can't go see Bond in April.
Yeah, we got to come up with something new.
Damn you, coronavirus. Am I leaving anything else out, Mike? Or are we just?
I'm sure we are, but we've already gone 36 minutes.
Yeah, and I just, it's just one of those things. Again, I don't hate this movie. This isn't the bottom rung. I just can't like it. Oh
wait, hold on. I got a message here. Warner Brothers says we have to keep this under 40 minutes.
Oh shit. Okay, so let's wrap up then. So, what are your thoughts on Justice League? Do you love it?
I still do enjoy enough of the stuff that I like that I'm willing to watch it again. I bought it.
Yeah, I know. I watched it on your Vudu account.
Yeah, I bought it. So
I just don't know if I would rank it anywhere near. Well, it's definitely not my top three, and mainly it's like Man of Steel is like the default 3.
Yeah, for me, it's. I would have to go back and rewatch Aquaman, but if I like Aquaman more, then it's my number 4. If I like Aquaman less, then it's my number 3.
Aquaman is probably my 4 only because there seemed to be a little bit more competence and confidence.
Yeah, James Wan
versus Justice League.
Yeah.
But is by no means, in my opinion, a good movie. I really did not care for it. I was told special effects are amazing, and I'm just like, these are Justice League special effects.
They're better than Justice League special effects. Come
on. There's a lot of CG bukkake going on. Let's just put it
there are, but it's better CG bukkake.
Okay.
It's not your $5 bukkake.
Ooh, okay. I'm talking about bukkake. All right. So anyway, what are your thoughts on Justice League? Did you love it? Did you not love it? Leave a civil comment below. Please don't hashtag us with Release the Snyder Cut. For the love of God, show some decorum. Also, don't forget to give this video a big thumbs up. Subscribe if you haven't already. Mike and I host a little podcast called Geek Salad, where we talk about all things nerdy. You can find our podcast at geeksalad.podbean.com. You can also find us on the Podbean app, as well as on Stitcher, Spotify, iTunes, Google Music, and iHeartRadio. You can also get our audio stream right here on the same place that you're watching this lovely video, right here on YouTube. You can also check us out because pretty much every week, with some exceptions, we do movie reviews, just like this. And what you think, please subscribe and let us know. And until next time, I'm Andy.
I'm Mike, and give me a thumbs up if you like my kitty.
Oh, your kitty's awesome. Oh, also, don't forget, follow us on Twitter at Geek Salad Radio and on Facebook at Geek Salad Podcast. And until next time, I'm Andy.
And I'm Mike.
Go forth and be nerdful. We'll talk to you later.
And that's Shadow.
Aw.
Yeah.
Yeah.